The world has been shocked by the unprecedented violence in Gaza and Israel, and it sparked new calls for a solution to the decades-old conflict between Israelis and Palestinians.
A two-state solution is the only way.
This is the heart of the two-state solution.
Some world leaders have suggested bringing the two-state solution back to the table.
Efforts to find a two-state solution.
But after decades of failure, is it still a viable option? The two-state solution would create an independent state of Palestine, but for Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in their own independent state, both have to recognize the other's right to exist. The leader of Israel's government, Benjamin Netanyahu, is against Palestinian independence, and he's opposed two-state solution. He presented a map of Israel to the United Nations this year, which included no jurisdiction for Palestinians and drew criticism of incitement. In the same speech, he accused Palestinians of not recognizing the Jewish state of Israel.
For peace to prevail, the Palestinians must stop spewing Jew hatred, finally reconcile themselves to the Jewish state.
On the other side of the conflict, Hamas, seen by some Palestinians as a resistance movement and designated a terrorist group by Western leaders, rejects Israel's right to exist. Hamas supports what they describe as armed struggle against Israel.
نحن لا تتخلى لا القيادة السياسية ولا القيادة العسكرية عن مسؤولياتها تجاه الشعب الفلسطيني وقضيته الأساسية وهي تحرير فلسطين.
But Hamas is not the only Palestinian political voice. Until 2006, the Palestinian Authority was in control of both the West Bank and Gaza. But after the elections that year, Hamas ousted the PA by force from Gaza, creating a divide in Palestinian leadership. The PA has long supported the two-state solution and recognizes Israel, but the governing body's president, Mahmoud Abbas, claims Israel is no longer acting as a partner for peace.
لقد بات واضحاً أيها السيدات والسادة أن إسرائيل التي تتنكر لقرارات الشرعية الدولية قررت ألا تكون شريكاً لنا في عملية السلام، وهي التي سعت وتسعى بسياساتها الراهنة وعن سبق إصرار وتصميم إلى تدمير حل الدولتين.
Critics of Benjamin Netanyahu's government say that the divide in Palestinian leadership is convenient for Israeli opponents of the solution.
Netanyahu, he nourished the Hamas economy and the Hamas existence in Gaza in order to weaken the Palestinian Authority at the West Bank. He was feeding Hamas in order to prevent any option for a Palestinian state in the occupied West Bank territories because his settlement's political base is there.
Benjamin Netanyahu has previously rejected claims he wanted to build up Hamas, and other Israeli voices have said peace is impossible while Hamas is committed to Israel's destruction.
There's no option but to eradicate Hamas. And if anyone has a better idea how to eradicate this Hamas ISIS, let me know.
Consecutive Israeli governments have made the building of illegal settlements on occupied Palestinian land a political priority. 2023 has set a record for settlement construction in the West Bank, according to the non-governmental group Peace Now. This map shows in red the increase of Jewish settlements between 1979 and 2019. These are sanctioned by the Israeli government. The outposts marked in blue are unauthorized communities. Under international law, settlements like this one, known as Efrat, are illegal, though Israel disputes that. For many Palestinians, the issue of settlements is a significant barrier to a meaningful peace process.
If you look from a realpolitik perspective, if we look on the ground, 30 years after the peace process, we are faced with an entrenched Israeli military occupation. We are faced with a tripled number of settlers that had reached more than 750,000 settlers in the West Bank, hindering any possibility for any Palestinian state.
The idea of a two-state solution dates back to the UN Partition Plan in 1947. The plan proposed splitting the British Mandate territory of Palestine into two separate states. A majority was allocated for a Jewish state and 43% of an Arab state, with an international enclave around Jerusalem. The Palestinians rejected the plan, while Jewish armed groups wasted no time in taking over towns and villages. By the end of the war, the Israelis were in possession of 78% of mandatory Palestine. This became known to Palestinians as the Nakba, or catastrophe of 1948, which displaced hundreds of thousands of people. Israel won another war in 1967 and occupied the remaining land, including the West Bank and Gaza, as well as East Jerusalem. But the conflict continued. In 1993, the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat, and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin signed the Oslo Accords. These agreements envisioned a two-state solution to bring an end to the conflict. The Israeli Foreign Minister at the time, Shimon Peres, heralded a new partnership.
We shall negotiate with you a permanent settlement, and with all our neighbors, a comprehensive peace.
But the Oslo Accords were attacked by hardliners on both sides, and the early promise of an independent Palestinian state was dashed by the events of November 1995.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, the architect of the Middle East peace process, has been assassinated. He was shot tonight as he left a peace rally in Tel Aviv and died shortly afterwards in hospital.
His death at the hands of a Jewish extremist left the peace process in ruins. Hassan Asfour was a member of the Palestinian delegation to the Oslo Accords. He said he believed Israelis were divided over the agreement Rabin had reached with the PLO.
والحقيقة الفلسطيني كان شريك إلى حد اغتيال رابين. الذي اغتال رابين ليس الطرف الفلسطيني. الذي لم يقم بأي شيء من واجبه والذي قتل السلام نتنياهو.
After Rabin's assassination, Benjamin Netanyahu came to prominence opposing the agreement, and in the eyes of many, halting progress made during the peace talks. The founding charter of Netanyahu's Likud party sets out that between the sea and the Jordan, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. Throughout most of his time in power, Mr. Netanyahu has continued to promote security concerns as the main argument against a two-state solution. On the eve of the 2015 elections, he outright rejected the idea of Palestinian state.
כל מי שהולך להקים היום מדינה פלסטינית, כל מי שהולך לפנות שטח היום פשוט נותן שטח התקפה לאסלאם הקיצוני נגד מדינת ישראל. זו המציאות האמיתית שנוצרה כאן בשנים האחרונות. מי שלא מבין את זה פשוט טומן את ראשו בחול. השמאל עושה את זה, הוא טומן את ראשו בחול פעם אחר פעם.
אם אתה ראש ממשלה, לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית.
אכן.
It's clear that Israel has seen a big political shift to the right since the Oslo Accords. The left-leaning peace camp, once vocal in its opposition to the settlement enterprise, has all but disappeared. The number of seats held by the left has gone from 56 in 1992 to just 4 in 2022. The Israeli parliament is now dominated by right-wing parties and religious groups. The two Arab parties have only 10 seats, even though 20% of Israel's populations are Palestinian Arabs with the right to vote. Public opinion polls carried out among Israelis in early 2023 found that 35% thought it was possible for Israel and an independent Palestinian state to coexist peacefully. 46% disagreed. For many on the Israeli right, a limited autonomy for Palestinians is as far as they have been willing to contemplate.
When I think about the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I have to be honest, I don't see any real solution anytime soon. So I think what we should do now is minimize the conflict, is allow Palestinians to have more autonomy, to have their own power grid, to have their own water desalination factories, and it will help both of us.
On the Palestinian side, researchers who spoke to people in the West Bank and Gaza Strip in early November 2023 reported just over 17% of Palestinians they talked with supported a two-state solution. 68% of those they spoke with said their support for a two-state solution has declined. The bloodshed that followed the October the 7th attacks has brought the elusive quest for a lasting peace to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict back into sharp focus. 30 years on from the Oslo Accords, some of those who played an instrumental role in the negotiations still hold fast to the idea of reviving the two-state solution.
I believe that it is the only solution that we have. After the war, there will be a reshuffle. I don't believe that Netanyahu will remain as a prime minister, and the government will be very, very different this way or another. So I think that on the Israeli side, there is a chance, a serious chance, that the issue of the two-state solution will reappear.
So far, every effort to revive the peace process has failed. But as world leaders try again to push Israelis and Palestinians towards a resolution, the question remains whether the two-state solution may once again be revived.